All right, so this one is kind of one you just need to memorize. It says blood is approximately 0.93% NaCl. Identify each type of solution below as hypotonic, isotonic, or hypertonic. What if anything would happen if a blood cell was placed in the solution? So this solution has the exact same osmotic pressure and the same concentration of NaCl as the cell itself. Okay, so this is what's called isotonic. And if you place cells in isotonic solutions, nothing happens. This solution has a much, much lower concentration of NaCl. This is called a hypotonic solution. And this solution would have a higher osmotic pressure. So remember that nature likes to dilute. So if you take a cell with a semi-permeable membrane where water can pass through, and you have a high concentration of salt in the cell and a low concentration of salt in the solution, water will rush into the cell to try to dilute the NaCl in the cell. And what happens is the cell will puff up like a balloon and eventually explode. And this is called hemolysis. Right? So that's what happens if you put the cells in a hypotonic solution. Now this solution, this last solution, has a higher concentration of NaCl, which means that the water would actually have a higher osmotic pressure in the cell, and it would tend to try to dilute this. Said another way, the water would rush out of the cell. This is called a hypertonic solution. And if you do that, the cell will shrivel up because the water is rushing out. So the thing to remember about osmosis is essentially that water will move from a low concentration to a high concentration. So if you have a low concentration outside of the cell, the water will rush into the cell to try to dilute the concentration inside the cell. And if the cell can't handle that amount of water, it'll actually rupture and blow up. That is called hemolysis. If you have a higher concentration outside the cell, the water will rush out of the cell and try to dilute the solution on the outside. This is called a hypertonic solution, and the cell actually shrivels up because it loses its water.